Traders, how are you? With Marcello. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. This week we have billionaires selling hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in stocks, which raises a few red flags because billionaires are the ones that are supposed to know everything. We also have cacao prices, which is what's used for chocolate, going to record highs 9 days in a row. So if you like chocolate, get ready for prices to go up. And we also have a situation where now in the Middle East, they're starting to cut undersea cables, internet cables. Let's go ahead and get started. Record highs for stocks in the United States. We also have huge movement with NVIDIA. If you guys aren't aware of what's happening with NVIDIA, they're one of the companies that makes chips, processor chips. And with the new boom in AI, their chips are the specific kind of chips that people need in order to run AI systems. So this is why the stock has absolutely exploded. They're on track now for hitting $2 trillion in market cap for the first time. They're up 66% in 2024 and record close after record close after record close. This thanks to NVIDIA. NASDAQ now hit a record high for the first time in over 2 years. Record close, right? It might have gotten a little bit as a record high before a close previously, but I finally closed at a record high. And for the week, the Dow was down 0.11%. The S&P 500 hit another record high. There was a 0.94. NASDAQ, as I mentioned, was positive, hit a record high. And Canada also was a record high. Overseas market news, the Nikkei in Japan hit a new high as well. So notice what's going on now, right? We're having kind of like a burst, a big, huge run, which could, let's say, could be the last run in the stocks, what's happening. And at the same time, we have billionaires that are selling hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in stocks. And I'm going to give you the names and the amounts here in a bit. But this is what I always try to teach you guys when it comes to pay attention to what people do, not what they say, right? They're saying the economy is amazing. They're saying the inflation is down, even though you're not seeing it at the grocery store, for example. But at the same time, you have a situation where a lot of billionaires, which are very smart people, there's a reason why they're billionaires, they are selling just billions of dollars and hundreds of millions in stocks. So I'm going to bet something's going to happen. At the same time this week, we've had Bitcoin surge over 21%. It got to, let me see the number here, 64,000. This is the first time since November of 2021 that it's gotten so high. So it seems like a chip has, a switch was hit, let's say. And so there's a situation now where we might see something happening in the next week or two, or maybe the next month or two, but something's going on. I've seen this too many times now with the history I have in the stock market. So let's see if actually something does happen. European markets are mostly mixed. Russia was the biggest winner there at 4%. Latin America, those markets were mixed. The Bovespa, which is the biggest market in all of Latin America, was negative 0.18%. Middle East and Africa were lower, mostly lower. And then in the far east, Asia, Australia, that area, we have the Kospi in South Korea being the biggest negative of all. Bitcoin and crypto news. As I mentioned, Bitcoin hit 64,000, the highest since November 2021. For the week, it was up over 21%. That might have changed a little bit. I got the number on Friday evening, so Saturday morning, Sunday morning is probably going to change quite a bit. And it hit a record high in a dozen other currencies as well, which I thought was extremely interesting. Didn't hit a record high with the US dollar, but in many other currencies it did. A lot of the commodities, including oil, went up quite a bit. The U.S. crude went up over 4% to $79.97, while Brent went up over 2% to $83.55. There's now an expectation that the central bank in the United States isn't going to cut interest rates as fast as they thought due to the fact that we had stronger than expected inflation. So they have to raise the interest rates to slow down growth to kind of tame inflation. Eventually, when inflation is tamed, they start bringing the rates down again, and then they obviously create another bubble, and that's basically the way it is. So now they might not lower the rates as fast, which means that the economy might not move as much. And that's the reason why oil is continuing to go up quite a bit. World's largest chocolatier, Barry Callebaut. I don't know where they're from. I think they're a Swiss company. They're going to cut about 19,000 jobs, or 19% of the workforce, which is 2,500 jobs, as cacao hits a record high for the 9th day in a row. Now, if you don't know, chocolate comes from mainly from a cacao plant. It's like an apple tree, let's say, a cacao tree. And most of that is from Western Africa. There's 3 countries in Western Africa. And due to drought and plagues and these kind of things, there's been a really bad cultivation this year, past few years, I should say. So now if you like chocolate, just keep in mind that it's probably going to go up in price. Gold is up over 2.30% to $2,083.30, while silver went up as well to 0.78%, $23.19 in price. Financial and banking news, the U.S. economy grew by $334 billion in Q4. The only thing that they don't tell you is that it took $834 billion in debt. So if you kind of don't know what's going on world economic wise, there's a situation where after the 2008 and 2009 crisis, most of the developed countries around the world started injecting billions of dollars, even trillions in some cases, into the financial system and into the economies to get it going again. This was to evade or avoid that huge crash that was coming in 2008 and 2009, and then at the same time, try to get the economy moving, because otherwise the population is going to riot. So there's a situation that happens when a country reaches 90% debt to GDP ratio, meaning that the size of its economy, when it gets to 90% of debt relative to the size of its economy, every dollar in debt that you inject to the economy, you get less than $1 back in growth. So if you have, for example, 50% debt to GDP, then every dollar that you put in get a positive return, because then, well, I put $1 in debt, but I get $1.50 or $2 out, right? So that growth covers the debt. Kind of makes sense? Well, now we're in a situation in the United States, for example, I believe the debt's at 120, 130%. And so now in this last quarter, they put in $834 billion in debt, but only got back 334. Now, if I do the math on my calculator, it's about, I want to say just under 30% or so. So every dollar that they're putting into the economy, they're getting 40% back. So it's not even half. Right? So it's something interesting to talk about, because we're taking out all this debt to continue to kind of limp along, but we're going to get hit a lot harder on the back end, because now we're not getting a positive result for every dollar in debt that we try to move the economy by. Does that make sense? Eurozone inflation dipped further. There's an expectation that now the European Union, or as all these countries together, are the 3rd largest economy in the world, that they're going to start lowering rates from record highs. Germany inflation went down to 2.7%, France 3.1%, Spain 2.9%, and most of it is energy and food prices, which I'm sure you guys are seeing in the grocery store. Not bueno at all. U.S. national debt is growing by $1 trillion every 100 days. So think about this in terms of the size of the economy. The size of the economy, the budget, I should say, is about, if I remember correctly, $4 trillion or so. With the debt, it's $6 trillion. So now we're adding almost our entire economy in a year in debt, and it's continuing to increase. Definitely not sustainable, especially when now every dollar in debt that we're putting in to grow the economy, we're getting less than half back, right? After the 2008 and 2009 crisis, we would put $1 in and at least get $1.20, $1.50, $2 back, and we'd be able to pay that debt off because of the growth of the economy. But now it's completely backwards. And now the food prices as well in the United States are the biggest percentage of someone's income in 30 years. And I'm sure you guys can see that as well. I think I saw something on Twitter, on X, where Five Guys used to cost $10. It's a Five Guy story. Some of you guys commented. Here we go. It's not even $20 anymore. It's $24 for a hamburger, fries, and a drink at Five Guys. Unacceptable. Economic news, and here I'm in Colombia, and you get a good what do they call that? A gourmet hamburger for what? $4, $5, $6? Economic news. India's economy grew much faster than expected in quarter four, 7.6%. In quarter three, it grew by 8.4%. Now remember, these numbers are annualized, so it's not like it grew 15, 20%. But India is definitely moving quite a bit. It's kind of the next frontier, especially since a lot of the countries now are looking to get out of China and into India. Japan, which is the world's fourth largest economy and a very big manufacturer, their February factory activity shrank for the fastest pace in 3 years. And even China's manufacturing activity, because remember, China makes everything for the world, even babies, they contracted for the fifth straight month. So we're starting to see some flashes, some red flashes that the global economy isn't doing as well. Available U.S. homes under contract fell unexpectedly in January amid the swing in mortgage rates. Pending sales went down 4.9% for the month, and total sales were off 8.8% from a year ago. This again is a situation with the interest rates. The higher they are or the higher they stay for longer, the more problems we have for the economy because we afford less things. And tack on to that the problem with the inflation. It's like a double whammy for consumers. And in the United States, almost 70% of the economy is consumer spending. Corporate news. Google lost $70 billion in market value in a single trading day after their woke AI bot didn't want to share white people when people were looking it up. They were talking about show me pictures of the founders of the United States, for example, and instead of 4 white guys, it would be 4 Indians or black guys. There's a huge blowback because of that, so they lost almost $70 billion in a day. Kellogg's, the cereal maker, his boss said that poor people should eat cereal for dinner to save money. If that shows you what they really think of us, right? That should tell you everything. Beyond Meat skyrocketed 30% following its revenue beat. Quarter four, the revenue hit almost $74 million, above the consensus of experts at $66.7 billion. They also said they're going to look to start cutting costs this year. And Dell Technologies went up over 31% after they beat quarter four analysts on strong AI servers. So NVIDIA's making the chips, Dell's making the AI servers. Dell also hiked its annual dividend by 20% to $1.78 a share. And Warren Buffett, 93 years old, still running Berkshire Hathaway to its second straight record annual profit. Berkshire Hathaway is almost going to be kind of that, what every company wants to try to be, a $1 trillion company. Their annual operating profit climbed 21% to over $37 billion. Operating profit in quarter four almost also beat expectations. And now they are the biggest financial firm by market cap. Telegram and Techonology is going to share 50% of their ad revenue with channel owners, the founder said. Apple is canceling its plans to build an electric car and is going to instead focus on AI. And Elon Musk now is suing OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT, for breach of contract. If you guys don't know the history of this, Elon Musk actually helped start or found OpenAI on the idea that it was going to be a non-profit company, help humanity, blah, blah, blah. But now they're basically for profit and they're a satellite arm basically of a $1 trillion Microsoft company. And that's why he's suing them. As I mentioned earlier, Houthis took out various undersea internet cables, making Starlink, Elon Musk internet satellite company more important than ever. And in investment news, the Walton family, which is the family that owns 45% of Walmart, sold $1.5 billion worth of stock. Remember that Jeff Bezos with Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of Chase, and the biggest a-hole on the planet, Bill Gates, that wants you to eat bugs, but he can still fly on private jets because he doesn't care about saving the world. They're all selling hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in stock. International events, agricultural ministers from across the European Union are meeting on Brussels, doing the very democratic thing, quote unquote, to just talk about stuff and not actually coming to a resolution. This week, the farmers protested and they blocked the entrance of Germany, the border between Germany and Poland. If you guys haven't seen, there's literally farmers protesting everywhere. And in a recent surge of illegal immigrants in the U.S. put major sanctuary cities across the country with a lot of financial pressure. Now Chicago and New York City, which wanted to receive illegal migrants before, are saying that they can't help anymore. And kind of just to show you the dynamic of this, New York, I believe, has a law that says that they have to help illegal immigrants, or at least can't send them away due to the whole situation with the immigration that happened, years ago. Whereas other states, for example, like Florida or Texas, Florida in particular, they passed a law saying that if they catch you transporting an illegal immigrant, you can literally be put in prison. So that's why a lot of people are going to New York, because there's no state laws that bars people from helping them. $145 million was allocated to New York City, which is only 10% of what they've spent. God forbid we help, all the veterans or poor Americans that are in this country. No, let's help those illegal immigrants. They're gonna vote for who they need to vote for. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, the preppers were right.